Have you ever had a decision to make, but you just weren't sure how to go about getting an answer? Did you consider asking God about it, but thought, hey, He's got better things to do than to hear about my problems? I'm here to tell you, hold on. God does want to help. Hello, I'm your Christian coach, Jo Heather Dodson. In today's video, we'll learn about putting out your fleece. What am I talking about, you may ask? Okay, here goes. A long time ago, in what actually feels like another life to me, I had moved back to my hometown after living out of state for a few years. I was unemployed and looking for a job. I decided I need to pray for a sign, but I wasn't really sure how to do that. I turned to the Bible and read about an Israelite named Gideon in the Old Testament book called Judges in chapter 6. Gideon was seeking direction from God, and he directly asked God for a sign in verse 17. Later in the chapter, in verse 37, Gideon got really specific. He said to God, I am placing a wool fleece on the floor. I will know what you want me to do if, in the morning, the dew is only on the fleece and all the ground is dry. Guess what? That's what happened. But that's not the end of the story. Gideon wasn't fully convinced, so he asked God for another sign. This time, he reversed his test. He put the fleece on the ground and stated he'd know what God wanted him to do when the fleece was dry and the ground was covered with dew. That night, God showed up, and the next morning, only the fleece was dry and all the ground was covered with dew. Imagining myself as Gideon, I put my fleece out, so to speak, and said, God, I want you to close the doors on all the jobs I'm applying for except for the one you want me to accept. I will know it's the job for me when it's the first one that I'm offered. Well, I got a phone call as a follow-up to one of my interviews, and they offered me the job. I was stunned. I didn't think that particular place would choose me. So I second-guessed that I had gotten God's answer. I told the person on the phone I'd have to get back to them the next day. I prayed. Like Gideon, I said, God, I need a second sign. I need to hear from you again to know this is truly the direction I'm supposed to go. The very next morning, I opened up my small devotional, and there was a story about a mother bird pushing her precious baby birds out of the nest because she knew they could fly even if they didn't know it. Then I knew in my heart that it was the confirmation I needed. I called the employer up and I took the job. I'm here to tell you today that experience changed my life radically in so many ways, and I am so thankful I walked forward in faith. What does all this mean to you? Number one, God wants you to seek His input on your actions in this life. He is never too busy for you. Just talk to Him about what problem or challenge you're facing. He is listening. Number two, ask for a sign. I asked for a specific action to take place, and you can too. Pray in the Spirit to know what sign to ask for. And if you need to, ask for a confirmation of that answer. You see that Gideon did it, and so did I. It is okay to ask God for a confirmation. Number three, look for God to show up. The prophet Habakkuk asked for God to show up, and you see the Lord's answer in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 1, verse 5, when God basically says, look and watch and be utterly amazed. I am going to do something that you would not believe, even if you were told. So now it's your turn. Do you have a decision to make? How about talking to God about it? Put out your fleece and look for God to show up and show off in your life. And then reach out to me. I am so encouraged by hearing your stories. Share them with me by emailing me at joheatherc@outlook.com with the keyword fleece in the subject line. As always, come back next week to keep hearing about points to ponder as you discover more ways to pursue your best life.